Okay, having looked at the competitor analysis as such, now we will look at what is the limitation of this five forces model. So, if you really look at the industry analysis model, you will see that there are several limitations to it. One is that it pays very little attention to the factors that might affect demand. So you would see that as compared to the pestle analysis, you would see that over here there is only a focus on the competitor as such. The competitor moves. What is the competitor likely to be undertake? As a fresh offensive, or say for example, who is likely to enter into the industry, who is likely to exit the industry. That's it. Where is the consumer in this analysis? We do talk about the bargaining power of the consumer, but then what more than that? Are we looking at the demand? No. So you would see that though the limitation for this five forces model is its inability to foresee or forecast demand as such. Secondly, it focuses on the whole industry per se rather than an individual firm. It does not focus on the fact that a particular firm as to it does not actually closely study that. It is looking at the wholesome industry. Thirdly, the framework doesn't explicitly account for the role of the government, except when the government is a supplier or the buyer. So you would see that many a times, as compared to pestle, in pestle you would see the legal environment factors being played out. But in this, you will not see that. Over here, you are not seeing this. Over here, you are just seeing that, what is the competitor doing? Who is the head on competitor? Who is the indirect competitor? That's it. Not more than that. So that is a severe limitation of the five forces model. Again, nonetheless, in spite of the limitations, competitor analysis is very important. For doing what? For formulating right strategies and determining the right positioning for the firm in the industry. Competitor analysis helps the firm to answer questions like who are the competitors? What are their current strategies? What are their future goals or likely strategies? What drives the competitor? Where is the competitor vulnerable? How are the competitors likely to respond? So, in all, in spite of the limitations, it is a very important component of the strategic analysis process, which brings us to the strategic planning process. Please remember, a company without a goal is actually not going to survive in a dynamic environment. So business needs to have a vision, it needs to have a mission. Vision and mission. What is the difference between the two? If you look at the vision, it defines where the organization wants to be in the future. It is a futuristic view. It reflects the optimistic view of the organization's future. That is, the organization is hopeful that it will survive in the future. It is likely to exist in the future. Whereas if you talk about a mission statement, it defines where the organization is right now, where is it going, basically describing the purpose as to why this organization exists. What is the perspective, what is the objective of the organization to come into existence as such. Now, this is very important. Going back to the strategic planning process, you would see that all the strategic initiatives originate from the business's vision and mission statements. Primarily the mission statement. And this mission statement is what actually instills the analysis of the internal and external environment. We talked about the external environment analysis in the earlier unit. Now, we said that external environment analysis can be undertaken with the help of Porter's five forces model, pestle analysis. Apart from this, there is one more analytical tool which is at your disposal. And this analytical tool is known as SWOT. S for strength, W for weakness, O for opportunity, and T for threat. So now, looking at the SWOT as such, opportunity and threat are external environment analytical tools. Opportunity. What is an opportunity? An area of buyer's need in which a company can perform profitably. And this is classified by the attractiveness of the development and its success probability. That is, how attractive is the opportunity? Say, for example, now attractiveness in a business case is defined by the financial lucrativeness of it. Success probability, how far or how likely is the business likely to succeed in case it decides to capitalize on the opportunity. Threat. What is threat? Threat is a challenge posed by an unfavorable trend or development that would lead, in the absence of defensive marketing action, to deterioration in sales and profit. This is classified by the seriousness and the probability of occurrence. How serious is the threat? That is how serious. Say, for example, the competitors, how likely are they likely to undertake a price cut? So, what is that? Is the seriousness, and what is the probability of occurrence? So now that we know what is an opportunity, what is a threat, what is the outcome of it? Outcome is in terms of the kind of business that is generated. Ideal business, which is high on opportunity and low in threat. Speculative business, high on opportunity and high on threat. So, this, say for example, if you talk about the share market, and in shares, both are high. Opportunity is also high and threat is also high. Right? Because you have this, supposing you're a shareholder and you have the opportunity to buy a share at a 52-week low price, so that is an opportunity for you. But then the threat is that the share price is like to go below the 52-week low. So then you are actually going to incur a loss. So it's both. It's high in opportunity and high on threat. Mature business, which is low in opportunity and low in threat. So either ways, that business is like either it is a cash cow or a business which is likely to wind up quite early. Troubled business, which is low in opportunity and high in threat, means that the business is about to close. So your business which has actually run into high debts is unlikely to actually generate revenue. And since it does not generate revenue, it is likely that it is not going to, have the capability to take advantage of any opportunity that comes its way. Right? Because the business needs money, and if the money is not there, it is not likely that the business is likely to take advantage of the opportunity. Now, having understood the opportunity and threat analysis, we now come to something called the internal analysis, which defines the scope and nature of business. As we talked about in the introductory video, every factor in the external environment has its impact on the business operations. How do we decide the business operations? And in this, one tool which is helps us to understand the business operations is called the value chain analysis. This value chain analysis segregates companies' activities into primary and secondary activities. Primary activities are those activities which directly impact the customer. Secondary activities are those activities which indirectly impact the customer. That is, primary activities include inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales, and after sales service. Secondary activities include the firm's infrastructure, HR, technology, procurement. All these activities are having a direct impact on the margin of the firm, the profit margin of the firm. Any activity which is lethargic in its performance is likely to adversely impact the profit margins. Similarly, any activity which is contributing to the profit margins or is handsomely contributing to the profit margins, either in terms of revenue generation or in terms of sales, in terms of, costs as such, is likely to be a strength for the firm. And this is what brings us to the other components of SWOT analysis, which is the strength and weakness. Strength of a firm can be the same as the weakness of the firm. So, this the department which serves as a strength of the firm can also serve as a weakness of the firm. So, marketing, in terms of marketing, we have company reputation, product quality, sales force effectiveness. In finance, we have cash flows. In manufacturing, we have economies of scale. In organization, we have visionary capable leadership. So, if an organization does not have a capable leadership, it is likely to be served as a weakness for the firm. If an organization is not able to take advantage of economies of scale, it is likely to serve as a weakness for the firm. Therefore, value chain analysis helps a firm to examine its costs, performance in each value creating activity and to look for ways to improve it. The firm should estimate its competitor cost. So, this is a very critical tool to estimate the competitor cost and performance as benchmarks. And this is what will serve as its scope. Value chain also helps to perform certain activities better than the competitors if studied properly, if executed properly. And that is where it gains competitive advantage. Its success not only depends on how well each department performs, but how well various departments are coordinated. So, therefore, if you look at the strategic thinking process or the planning process, the external environment analysis and the internal environment analysis, both together help the company to actually formulate objectives, short term objectives and long term objectives. Once the objectives have been formulated, then the strategy formulation takes place. Strategy in terms of product development strategy, market penetration, diversification. Once the firm decides what kind of strategy it wants to adopt, it then goes for program formulation. That is how to execute that strategy. And once the implementation is done, then the feedback and control is exercised to ensure that the strategy has been properly executed or is properly being executed, and therefore in case there are any checks and balances to be exercised, that can be done so timely.